Welcome, everybody. I was having technical difficulties, but we're live on YouTube. My name is Alma, and I'm happy to lead practice for us tonight. Any questions? Comments? Anything to share? Let it out. I think this is the perfect opportunity for me to share from the book Comfortable with Uncertainty and Awkwardness. This is from Pema Chodron. Is from my personal collection, and it's 108 teachings on cultivating fearlessness and compassion. The page that I'm going to read from is page 80. It's number 73, meditation. When we sit down to meditate, we leave behind the idea of the perfect meditator, the ideal meditation, and preconceived results. We train in simply being present. We open ourselves completely to the pain and the pleasure of our life. We train in precision, gentleness, and letting go. Because we see our thoughts and emotions with compassion, we stop struggling against ourselves. We learn to recognize when we are all caught up and to trust that we can let go. Thus, the blockages created by our habits and judgments start falling apart. In this way, the wisdom we were blocking, the wisdom of bodhicitta, becomes available. Meditation might be the only thing we do that doesn't add anything to the picture. When we sit down to meditate, we can connect with something unconditional. A state of mind, a basic environment that doesn't grasp or reject. Everything is allowed to come and go without further embellishment. Meditation is a totally nonviolent, non-aggressive occupation. Not filling the space, allowing for the possibility of connecting with unconditional openness. This provides the basis for real change. The more we sit with this impossibility, the more we find it's always possible after all. When we cling to thoughts and memories, we're clinging to what cannot be grasped. When we touch these phantoms and let them go, we may discover space, a break in the chatter, a glimpse of open sky. This is our birthright, the wisdom with which we were born, the vast unfolding display of primordial richness, primordial openness, primordial wisdom itself. When one thought has ended and another has not yet begun, we can rest in that space. Anything that comes to mind with what I just shared with you? Vicky?
That space where the thought ends and the next one begins. For me, the space is really tiny. But there sometimes is even that tiny space is progress. From sitting long. I've been sitting for years, but every time it's brand new. And if I can get that little teeny bit of space in there, it's progress, and it makes it worth the sit.
Yes. Thank you. Whenever I share that I volunteer with the Kids Sangha or that I teach kids yoga, they're like, oh, Like, it's contradictory. Meditation in kids is like, it happens like Vicky just described. It's not going to be the way I, preconceive it, where they are still. No, it's playfulness and sharing and excitement, and then moments, tiny little moments of stillness. And then we start again. But I really like what you said about your sitting being new every time and calling it and declaring it an achievement and a success, just because you get to perceive and be present in those moments. Yes?
I was just going to say, piggybacking on that one, I just find it hilarious how when you do find maybe that one moment, as in my personal experience, it's like, maybe I'll sit in that for a second and I'll go, oh, I think I'm doing it. And then it's gone. Right when you think about it, then it vanishes. It's so funny.
Yeah. Exactly. And you're like, mastery.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Beginner's mind. Mastery. Yeah. Beginner's mind. Kind of like Vicky described. Yeah. Yes. And it's the grasping.
Yeah.
It's the grasping that could block us from declaring our victory, letting go, to further expand that openness, and then thoughts come in. And that's why I like Zen practice, because it's finding the flow. Just like life happens. It's us that we grasp. Life is flowing, constantly changing, impermanent. But we are the ones that grasp. I want to share something with you. I did a grief Reiki circle last Wednesday. And I'm channeling a lot from my throat. And one of the participants is 95 years young. He's ready to go. That's the first thing that he told me when we started the circle. Nothing wrong. That's his perception, right? And then he discovered that he was feeling lonely after most of the people that he knew are gone. So obviously, he was not going to find meaning in his journey. Last week, after several sessions, he has shifted to the point that he had a moment where he actually interrupted everybody and said, "Hey everybody, say it with me. We love the past. Everybody with me. We love the past." So we went with it. But in that moment, for me, I got present to my own grasping and how much grief and suffering I cause for myself whenever I hold on to my past relationships, circumstances, conditions in life. And this kind of reminded me of that grasping. Don't get me wrong, sometimes it's the opposite, right? We're like, fast forward, skip this, let's just get it over with. And that's kind of, the two spaces that he's traveling. But that's everybody's doing it, right? That's everybody. Future, past, in this moment. In those tiny little moments. We get to be present to everything that happened, everything that didn't happen, my outside world, my inner world. In Reiki, we call it transcendence. And it's that openness and expansion that allows me to be present to my happiness and my sadness in the same space. But, it happens. It's like those moments where I'm like, I'm so enlightened. But what was I thinking? It happens in the same space. Anything else to share?
I find that, we're talking about those moments between, I play the harp. And so, to me, it's not the plucking that I like, it's the space between the notes. And I realize it's the same with the bowl. I don't particularly care for the sound when it's struck, but the in-between is this, it's like a peace and an anticipation. And I didn't hear the third.
There wasn't.
I realized,
Yeah.
a lot of people always strike it
Yes.
3 times, and I was like, waiting,
Yes.
and then realized it wasn't going to come, or I didn't hear it, or I didn't know. But that power of that space and being present to just the vibration is so beautiful. Feels like an invitation to freedom. Because it's not about, I got to strike the right note or connecting with someone else's energy field with a resonance that matches up with your energy field, and then letting it be and realizing there are no words for that, but the words, you will find what you need in that space. David will find what he needs in that space.
Exactly.
And Chris will find what he needs in that space, or not. And but it's a really an invitation to freedom.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Thank you for sharing. I really like the same effect on the bowl. I do sound healing, so it's in the frequency that we get to experience that openness, that space, like you said, that freedom to play. It's very challenging not to go with almost an automatic response of feeling something in that space, because I'm so used to it. There's a really good benefit of just practicing silent meditation, as we call it, or Zen practice. Like you said, it's an invitation for freedom. And I always say, just as you described, if you choose to, then you can practice metta, loving kindness, send it out there, or you can add compassion, or you can add peace, or like you can also cultivate certain emotions. There's other classes here at the temple for those styles. And there's also a benefit in just being comfortable with the uncomfortable, which for some of us is being silent. I just want to keep talking right now, but let me practice. Go.
Nice to be here. Thanks for facilitating. This is my first time in this room for this experience, so thank you for making it come to life for us. What's come up for me are a few things. One, I guess I'll pull just whatever comes to mind. When I took physics in school, I loved, the ripple on the water. And much like she was describing the reverb of the chord, right? And it just fascinated me because it brings me to nature to think of that moment. You drop something in the water that's still, and then it reverbs, and each of us are that in the world and how we show up. And with that, the other thing that had come up is we're so, as humans, I think, rushing to fill the open space, and my objective of meditation is to bring that peace and serenity into my interactions. Yet I find I had you make it 2 examples with individuals. One just earlier this week where we were sitting in a vista spot and there was just silence. And there wasn't the need to fill the space. And the opportunities that we have with people to do that are not that common. And being able to appreciate that was part of the experience, was to recognize that it wasn't a rush to fill space. I think it says a lot in terms of the connection that you can have with someone on a meta level. I'm excited to continue to learn.
Thank you for sharing that. It got me thinking, and I was imagining that effect, the rebirth. I like how you describe it as well. Because if something that I believe in is that we are channels. That's why I practice Reiki. Imagine if we will intentionally channel our energy and the effect that we get to have in others to heal each other. That's the world I want to live in. And we're on a road, on our path, and we're practicing. But it's the same effect because we are sentient beings. We are energetic beings. If I'm raising my vibration by practicing compassion, gratitude, love, or just being in a space of openness, and then I get to resonate with you, and then create that ripple effect, and you're like, I don't know what she did, but I'm feeling good after just interacting with her. That's the world I want to live in. Because we usually perceive it in the opposite, like, whoa, did I just get a headache? I just said hi to this person and shook their hand. I'm not gonna say the name, but they might be having teeth that, suck your energy. But there's some people that are talented in that, right? You thought about a couple? But there's also givers. There's also people that are like, whoa, I'm so energized and happy and excited after interacting with this person. Yes. We get to create. We get to choose moment by moment. What's the ripple effect you want to create for yourself and others today? I heard compassionate presence. I love that. You have a right. Anything else to share? Anything else to contribute? Perfect. Oh, that's perfect timing. I said perfect timing. Let's go.
I was kind of holding back on this one because I feel like it's kind of taking some of what we talked about in a different direction. But when it's more on the line kind of over like concept of grasping, and I think, whenever I think of grasping, and maybe this is common, but like we think of like holding on to things that either like make us feel good or in like the past, like holding on to the good parts of past relationships or like things like that. It's something that kind of conversation inspired me was thinking about the ways that we also grasp onto like some of those more negative or like traumatic things. And even if we move past the concept of like the modern like psychological concept of like trauma, but the way that we kind of like integrate our past history into like who we are today, and like I do this a lot, like, oh well, I'm this person who reacts this way because of like XYZ thing that I've been through or because of my upbringing. But I kind of was thinking of the concept of grasping in that regard as like we create an identity and we hold on to an identity that's built on like these past experiences, both positive and negative. But then, like to your point of like being a channel and being on our path, like almost like being able to distance yourself from like an identity is still in that same way, like a grasping at something that's kind of illusionary or like I don't know, like a little bit like dissonant. So like that was something that I was thinking about throughout it, because I think that that's something I like definitely struggle with, is like holding so tightly onto that when like there's a certain amount of like how much can we say is dependent on like XYZ thing that happened to us and how much of it is innate or just like from the energetic perspective, almost unrelated.
Yeah. Very related. Trauma-informed should be added to all of our resumes in ways that we could contribute to people like veterans or, people that experience trauma because of their conditions or circumstances. In the same realm of what you're describing, it took me to exactly that image. How much of our ego gets shattered when the invitation for freedom is available and you're like, but what am I going to do with this space? Or, for example, I've seen it in training and development courses that I've taken, and they are like, let go of your past. But who am I going to be without my past? Whatever you want. One of my favorite concepts of Zen meditation is nothingness. When you reach nothingness, what's possible? A freak out moment. Psychosis effect. Who am I? Crisis. A lot of us perceive it like that. But when you have nothing, when you have space, what's possible? Exactly. Anything. But like you said, a lot of us struggle with the possibility of creating new. Because I'm so used to what I've known. And then I don't get to discover myself to be someone different. I don't get to discover this life to be magical and surprise me because of what you just described. A lot of us are really, really holding on and grasping to what we believe we are. My titles, my school, my jobs, you name it. Reputation is everything. Hashtag influencer, not just kidding. But honestly, it's all in the world of, what have you done? Nothing. That's awesome. I want to be like you. Maybe in that moment we get to discover people for who they truly are by recognizing their presence, their energy, the ripple effect they have on me, not what's coming out of their mouth. Because most of that might be in the world of ego, or most of that might be in the world of preconception or delusions, like we hear a lot. And I really like what you're exploring, which is, what am I grasping to? What am I grasping on? What am I holding on today? For me, it's knowledge. That's why I want to go step into uncertainty today. Because then, like you said, I fall into the category of preconceptions, and I'm really having the freedom to be, the freedom to play and discover myself newly. So, with that being said, anything that you're discovering newly that you would like to share?
Before I got into meditation and coming here, my identity was tied to my job, and then I was coaching baseball for many years. And I had other stuff going on, bad stuff. So then after several relapses, I hit rock bottom. And kind of what the lady said, just I discovered that I was losing everything, and I was trying to hold on to the old me. But the old me, now that I'm realizing, I was attaching myself to a lot of bad stuff, or I would associate with a lot of shady characters. So then I was like, okay, well, I gotta do something quick, or I'm gonna lose everything. So then I started coming here. I was like, well, I gotta feel some time. I can't let those thoughts overtake me. And I started discovering this peacefulness, this calmness. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm not gonna coach baseball anymore, and let me see, let me go volunteer at the rescue mission. Love it. Now, you know what? They stole my car, so I was like, let me get a bike and just I feel like a kid all over again. And yeah, sometimes just doing nothing. And I'm not trying to live up to anyone's expectations. Before I would think, well, people want me to do this, and I was like, you don't have to do a damn thing. just stay clean and sober and take up my responsibilities. But if I'm gonna go ride a bike all day, if I want to sit and meditate, if I want to whatever, the world is my playground, and I see a difference at work now. Co-workers will say, well, it's Monday morning, why are you happy?
Excuse me.
I rode my bike to work, and I did a little. I was trained before I came here, and but I see it in other people and in family members where they attach themselves to a profession and impermanence. We all are going to get to that day where we're going to retire, or something else pops up, and I see family members struggling with that right now because their identity was tied to whatever they were doing. So, yeah, that's all I got.
Thank you for sharing. The grasping and the attachment, right? Attachment to certain people, certain behaviors, certain patterns, certain brain connections. They get repetitive too. And I really like what you're bringing to the table, which is even when your car gets stolen, your circumstances are not ideal. You get to create newly and then be a kid riding a bike, right? It's like your choice. A lot of us have personal crisis because, like you said, we lose our identity, we lose our jobs, we lose our relationships, we lose anything that was, like you expressed, determining who we were and defining the conditions of our existence. When that gets shattered, it does create an impact, but we get to practice this in a smaller or bigger scale, depending on your preference. Because the invitation, like we were talking earlier, is freedom. With your thoughts, no pushing, not engaging. With life, not rejecting, not attaching. And it really takes practice. And it can be taken to all the different aspects of yourself, including your self-concept, including creating a new life after hitting bottom. Anything else to add?
I was going to say, I like adding on to the grasping way of being like, I just got back from a 3-month trip and I came back and I was kind of like, I was in this like space. I got back less than a week ago and I'm still like getting used to this life again in the US. It's so fast. And I was thinking about like, thoughts would come up in my head and I would just like attach to them. And then I was like, wait, that was how I was before. I was like, I'm not that person anymore. And so for me it was like, now I'm trying to find this like balance or like accepting of like, it's okay to not be the same person that I was 3 months ago. And that person wasn't a bad person, but I've just evolved a little bit more, and it's okay to not like identify with that person anymore, and just like, you know, break bad habits or like break the old ways of thinking or the things I used to say. And it's kind of scary letting go of that person, but it's also extremely freeing, because like in a way, like I have the freedom right now. Like I don't have to go back to my old job if I don't want to, because that, for me, that feels like it's going backwards. And so it's like I have this like openness, like this open space to just continue to become the person I want to be. And so, yeah, I think like in a way, like, yeah, just letting go of the old labels and just giving myself the time and the space to become who I want to be is just the most important. So, that's what I want to share.
Thank you for sharing. You reminded me of the concept of the observer. When you get to observe your thoughts and not necessarily identify with them, and you're like, hold on, wait, that's not my new self. That's my old self. And then you let it go. What a beautiful thing to experience that detachment, because our mind was made to think, and it will create beautiful stories that sometimes we purchase to read without questioning it. We create confusion, sadness, maybe other emotions and frustration. However, in the moments of practice where we get to flow with our thoughts, be present for ourselves, that is where the practice lands. And then we get to take it to the outside world, or like you said, after 3 weeks, no, 3 months.
Yeah.
Oh wow, yes, 3 months. I get it. It's definitely a transition. You might be questioning everything. And I'm excited and happy for you. It's almost in the world of art, creating a new life and questioning anything and everything that showed up for himself. You know, it's almost like, you know, coming to practice and you're like, is this trauma? Is this me? Is this trauma? You know? Yeah, that's exciting to me. Because I usually create a lot of suffering for myself by buying my own stories. Something that I can share with you. I work in hospice as the director of supportive care services, which means I oversee volunteer and bereavement services. When I do volunteer visits with patients, I hold space, bring the compassionate presence, for them to say whatever is needed. You can only imagine that their loved ones might show up judgy, because they are not in practice and putting themselves aside to be there for them. And they might not be ready for the things that the patient might share. For example, you know, I'm not afraid, I'm ready. The family member might say, hold on to life, because I love you. And I don't know what I'm going to do without you. Then attachment kicks in, right? What I can share with you about the patient, because that's who I stand for the majority of the time, is one of the situations that cause most grief at the end of life is not being the person that I was 20 years ago, not being the person that I was 10 years ago, not being able to travel, not being able to see my children, not being able to host parties. So again, everybody, we love the past, right? So yay for you to practice creating a new leaf. Yay for you to create a new life. Yay for everybody to be here practicing with us, creating a ripple effect of freedom and openness. Yay! You ready for more? Cool. We have a few moments. anything to add before we complete? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, a bunch of stuff has come up. Really articulate group of people here.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think about just every once in a while is that I think that I'm looking into the future, like quite literally, or I'm looking into the past, and all I'm actually looking at is into my thought stream. Like, I'm looking at a story that I've made up, and it just seems so real, and then it's like, I have to like force myself to step back and tell myself that's not a real thing. I'm looking at me right now having a thought that's imaginary about something that will most likely never take place. And get attached to that, and get worried, get excited, perhaps anxious, usually anxious.
Same.
Yeah. So that's all I just wanted to share.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. We can all agree. That's one of the ways it can be perceived. Like, my past is here, my future is here, present moment, and it's all continuous, like you said, and it's all based on your perception, impression, interpretation. So it's very valid to say that's not necessarily true, as it might be, like you said, an interpretation of your own thoughts. It's still a practice to identify the current. And I acknowledge you for taking on the flow. It does take practice. There might be waves. That's how I describe grief. But just consider that our thoughts and our body can be, described in many ways as flows. We're made of water, we have thoughts, we're made of energy, so there's going to be a current, there's going to be waves, there's going to be an overflow. So 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 14 minutes, 4 minutes, whatever you take on, practice makes a difference. And I hope tonight made a difference. And I really want to thank all of you for creating this space of expansion and openness.